My name's Hector Rivera. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy schedules to take a look at what I've been working on this semester. To give you a quick rundown, I've been working with a client by the name of Tom. Tom played a lot of basketball up through high school at a varsity level. He hasn't been able to do it too much recently because he's a computer programmer, so it's a lot of typing at a computer, a lot of sitting down, lots of meetings. So for the past decade or so, it's really only played at a recreational level. His goal now is to get back into it to play a little bit more competitively. Before going into any kind of fitness programs, we want to make sure that our clients are safe and healthy enough to start these protocols. So we underwent a couple health and movement assessments, specifically the PAR-Q and the functional movement screen. With the PAR-Q, it's going to be a survey of yes or no questions, making sure that our cardiovascular and our pulmonary health are going to be ready to go and at a satisfactory level to make sure that we're not going to cause any problems if we're starting any fitness programs. So it's a very good baseline to make sure that we're healthy enough to get started with this. With Tom, he answered no to every question as taught by in the reading by Pescatello in 2014. It means that we're good to go and we're safe and ready to start. He answered no with the exception of a question based around blood cholesterol. He had a physical exam with a clinician about 10 months ago, but he didn't know the exact numbers as to where he was. He was confident that he was under the range to be safe, but we weren't necessarily sure. So just decided on the error caution there. We made sure that we said yes, but even with that one affirmative answer, we were still in a good place to make sure that he was good to go and to get started on the functional movement screen. So as you see here with the functional movement screen, he summed a score of 15, meaning that anything over a 14, we're in a good place because the incidence of injury is a lot lower and you're in a lot safer range to start any kind of functional program. So that's what we were able to do. If you look at the deficits here, we had issues with trunk stability. We didn't get perfect scores with the active straight leg raise, the hurdle step, the deep squat, and the rotary stability. Awesome thing about this functional movement screen is that it's a blind test for him. He doesn't know anything about what's going to happen and how we're going into it. So it's really just showing you the motions and the actions that somebody's going to be taking in their day-to-day life while they're undergoing some kind of functional movement screen in this instance. So it kind of tells you any kind of deficiencies and compensatory movements that they're making when they're challenged with anything along the lines of what we're looking for in these exams. So his biggest deficit was his trunk stability. When trying to lift himself up to a push-up position with his hands overhead or hands at ear level, he wasn't able to do it. At best, he could get up into a cobra position, if you guys are familiar with yoga, but it's not really what we're looking for there. It was a little bit of issues in terms of understanding the instructions, but even so, we wanted to play it safe here and make sure that if it's something that he wasn't able to do with multiple instructions as we went through the exam, we were able to, score it out of 1. What we were able to see in things with the deep squat, and more specifically the hurdle step, is that when he was trying to lift his leg up and maintain a position on one leg, the only way he can step forward and bring his leg back is to rotate his leg. So it was a lot of weakness in his gluteus medius in order to get into proper position. Same idea with the squat. We weren't able to get deep enough to really get a deep squat in. But this rotary stability, we weren't able to maintain any balance if we were going to put elbow to knee on ipsilateral side. The contralateral side we were able to do, which is why I scored a 2. Active straight leg raise, we saw some issues with hip flexor tightness, hamstring tightness. So overall, we're looking to develop a plan that's going to work on that gluteus medius, teach him how to properly engage his core, because for Tom, core means his rectus abdominis and that six-pack muscle, for those of you who aren't too familiar with anatomy. But what we're looking to see is activations of his transverse abdominis. So idea is we're getting him ready to go here to protect his spine and other kind of exercises down the road. So once we deemed that he was ready to go and safe to start any kind of program, we did start a periodized linear progression in terms of an exercise program. Pulling it up here to let you guys know what we were looking for. We set a goal with Tom, and his goal was to get back into basketball playing shape, is what he called it. For me, it meant that we were building his muscular endurance, so that if he was going for a long length of time, more than a couple minutes in terms of playing a game, he can come back for game 2, game 3, game 4 and maintain his strength and proper form without, tiring out too much. Specifically, I wanted to increase his time to fatigue by 2 minutes at the very least within an 8-week program. On top of that, we're looking to any free weight exercise that we have, up the weights by 5 to 10 pounds, 10 pounds being the goal over the course of 2 weeks. I apologize, for over the course of 2 mesocycles, so an 8-week program. His training status, he was coming in intermediate. He had just completed 2 months of doing yoga 3 times a week. The way that we chose his training frequency was something that we're looking to make sure that it was going to be efficient for him, but also something he can commit to. So with his busy schedule, he can get into the gym 4 times a week for somewhere around 30 to 45 minutes. So that's what we're looking to utilize here. The way that we set up our exercises is 1 day of the 1 day lower body exercises, 1 day upper body exercises, and then a second set of body exercises at the end of the week, so 4 times total. Day 1 and day 4 for lower body, day 2 and day 5 for upper body, and giving him 3 days of rest in between to make sure we're maximizing on recovery in between our sessions. Each program is going to have a dynamic warm-up, so it's going to consist of drills similar to what he's going to be doing in game, as well as dynamic stretching to really make sure he's utilizing the activeness and gaining the flexibility that we're going to need for playing the game of basketball. For anybody who follows basketball, you know how much running around a small forward does. For those of you who don't, it's a lot of overhead, catching a ball, shooting a ball, and being able to move laterally forward and backwards at stopping on dime and being able to cut to make sure that you're in position to play the game efficiently. So if you see here, we are focusing on exercises that are going to mirror what we're going to be doing in game. So something like a squat to get him ready to jump, lateral lunges to, get him ready to move his weight left to right. We're starting off with compound core exercises, so those exercises that are recruiting more muscles and going through multiple joints. We're then changing to something like a non-compound core exercise, something like a calf raise. So we're getting those single joint exercises out of the way, and then we're getting more specific with our leg abductions and our clamshell exercises. Those where our client is going to be side lying and lifting using that gluteus medius muscle, so that focus point that we found in the functional movement screen, as well as the sit-ups in the Sarman number 1, which is going to progress to Sarman number 4. This is just a type of exercise that's going to engage the rectus abdominis. I apologize, the transverse abdominis as opposed to your rectus abdominis. So it's a strong core exercise to make sure that we're getting ourselves ready for exercises increasing in intensity, such as your squats or your lateral raise lunges, for anything that we're doing going forward, as well as our upper body exercises. If you can see here, day 1 is always going to start with 2 sets of 15, and we're going to have a repetition. Week 1, day 1, it's going to be 65% of our repetition maximum. Same idea with the upper body exercises. We're starting with 2 sets of 15, 65%. We have a couple exercises here, and if you see the pattern that we have with our exercises, it's an anterior and a posterior exercise. Ideally, we're not leaving anything out, so what we're really looking for here is to make sure that we're treating our anterior or posterior muscles grouped together. We're working out one side and the other side, so we're keeping a balance between the two. Although not every muscle is going to work an agonist and an antagonist with a different exercise, we are in general making sure that biceps and triceps are worked out, our back muscles like our rhomboids and our trapeziuses are being worked out, as well as our chest muscles, so our pectoral muscles, idea of things like that, and always eating the core exercises with something like a plank. As you see, the second round for each part of the week is going to up the number of sets while maintaining intensity. So now we're giving ourselves more repetitions for that second round later in the week. The second week, we're going to start off with 2 sets, but now we're upping the intensity, so to 68%. 3 sets of 15 at 68%. So we're upping the sets and overall number of repetitions the second half of the week. And that's going to proceed all the way through our first mesocycle, 2 sets to 3 sets, upping and keeping the intensity the same, but increasing the intensity week over week, ending off at 75%. I just want to highlight that in mesocycle number 2, it looks like we might not be going through a linear progression because we go back to 2 sets of 12 for 65%. I just want to highlight that we are upping the training weight there. So we're starting with a new training load and our new base level as to what our repetition maximum is. So ideally, we've upped the weights 5 to 10 pounds based on what our client's able to do. That's going to be our new 65% of our 1 repetition maximum. So I just wanted to highlight that because I know it does look a little different in terms of a normal linear progression. That being said, we do have, and I apologize for that, lag there. The idea is that we're progressing our force generation each mesocycle through small increments and building week over week. to make sure that we're getting more and we're not plateauing with our exercises. Exercise techniques. I have 2 videos here. In terms of uploading the video, I apologize that there's 2 for each. The first video, just to highlight, is going to be me showing our client visually what was going on with the exercises that we deemed he needed the most work on, and what we wanted to do to fix them. The second videos are going to be him undergoing what the original form was that he was taking, and then our corrections are cueing, and fixing the technique to make him a little safer in terms of what we were doing. So for upper body, we chose a dumbbell press. We focused on making sure that we had strong grip positioning, our elbows and our wrists stayed in line when we were pressing up and going eccentric and concentric through the motions, keeping our core engaged, and getting into the lifting position on the bench comfortably and correctly and safely for everybody involved. For lower body, we worked on squats. It was very vertical originally. Our knees were going too far. We weren't engaging our glutes. We weren't engaging our core. Our neck was going everywhere. So we're really just making sure we locked down the proper form with that, to make sure everything was going on safely and efficiently. Application of faith integration is something that I think is wonderful in terms of this class. I've been able to learn how to progress an exercise program or build an exercise program for somebody specifically, based on their own goals. So I think that that's something that I'm going to be able to apply when I hopefully one day become a physical therapist. It's going to be part of the job, and I'm very excited to have learned this idea here. I'm also working on really setting up a framework for more than just 2 mesocycles, and how do we get somebody up to a goal that they want to meet and identifying those goals. So I'm personally going to work on getting a CSCS certification to really understand the nitty-gritty of what happens in the gym. I do want to highlight a couple verses that I thought were important, and I'll explain why. Starting with Jeremiah 33, verse 6. Nevertheless, I will bring health and healing to it. I'll heal my people, and I'll let them enjoy abundant peace and security. With everything we're learning here, I think it's important that we're giving back, and we are that blanket of security for our clients and the people that we're working with. We give them that peace of mind, and we are the reason that they're comfortable and able to come to us with the knowledge that we're gaining. And everything that you see here, it's people being open to come to us, and that's what we're learning from the teachings of Christ in these lectures, and applying it to our lives. Hebrews 11 verses 1-3. Now faith is the assurance of things we hope for, the conviction of things not seen. For by the people of old received their commendation. Faith, but we understand the universe was created by the word of God, so that what's seen was not made out of what's visible. Knowledge isn't tangible. Knowledge I can't hand to you, but I can show you what I've learned, and I can master it so that I can give it back to the people that I'm going to be helping, hopefully in my profession, but also more importantly to the people in my community, so that they can feel comfortable coming to me, so that I can teach them about their movement and their bodies. Finally, Romans 2 verse 3. Do you suppose, O man, you who judge those who practice such things, yet you do them yourself, you'll escape the judgment of God? And although it's a little bit more confrontational here, I kind of flip the meaning for me personally here, and it's I am my own patient, so I have to practice what I'm preaching here every single day to make sure that I have proper form and I can identify these things. So if I practice them in my life, I'll be able to make sure that I'm the master and the expert when it comes to working with any kind of patient. Finally, I want to just show that I have references here in terms of everything we've been able to learn and put together in this course. Thank you again for your time, and I hope that you guys enjoyed what you guys were able to see.